Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel Query Solution. So this is the 7th session on the chapter life process that we are taking today, and this is actually the second session on the respiration process that I am taking. And in today's video we are going to discuss these 4 subtopics, which are through a diagram the structure of a human respiratory system, how does the exchange of gases occur through the respiratory pathway, what are the changes that occur during the inhalation and exhalation of the gases, and lastly we are going to talk about what medium helps in the transportation of these gases through the human respiratory system. So let's check out the video. Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel Query Solution. So today it's the 7th session on the chapter life process and second session on the concept of respiration. And in today's video we are going to talk about the human respiratory system. There is already a video uploaded on the concept of respiration, and in today's video on the human respiratory system, these are the 4 subtopics that we are going to talk. The first thing is we are going to understand the structure of the human respiratory system through a diagram. Then we are going to see how does these exchange of gases takes place through our human respiratory system. Then we are going to talk about the changes that occur during the inhalation and the exhalation of the gases. And lastly, we are going to talk about what medium helps in the transportation of these gases in our body. Alright, so let us start first of all with the first subtopic, which is structure of the human respiratory system. So children, this is the diagram of human respiratory system. I am uploading various videos, and you can find in the playlist if you want to see how these diagrams are drawn. So you can go through these sets of videos where I am teaching you how the diagrams can be drawn. So that video you can find through playlist. Alright. So to understand the human respiratory system structure, we do know that in the human respiratory system, the major organ that helps in these exchange of the gases are your lungs. And how many lungs do you have in your body? So you do know that you have got one pair of lungs, or I can say you have got 2 total lungs, one lung and this second lung that you can see. So let us understand what are these labelings that I have written here and what are the parts of the human respiratory system. So we do know, first of all, we have got a specialized structure in our body which is known as the nose, and the nose have got holes into them which we call as nostrils, and these through these nostrils is what we take in the air, right? We inhale the air through the nostrils and we even exhale the air through the nostrils as well. So nostrils are the holes in your nose. Now once you take in the air, right, where does it go through? So it goes through a passage. And what is this passage known as? So this is known as your nasal cavity. So when you are inhaling the air from your nostrils then to your nasal cavity, it is going to go into this common pathway which is known as your pharynx. Now from your pharynx it is going to go to the next part which is known as your voice box also. Like the sound that you are hearing right now or the sound that you speak is because of this voice box that we have in our body which is known as larynx. Now through this larynx it is going to go into this tube like structure which is known as trachea, and with trachea there is one special feature. Can you see these linings that I have drawn over here? And what are these linings known as? So these linings are actually rings of cartilage. And what does this help into? So these cartilage rings which are there throughout the structure of trachea does not allow trachea to collapse. So there is something known as a residual volume of the air in the lungs, and then there is something which is the cartilage rings that we have in the trachea. And what does these make sure? They make sure that your lungs and your trachea doesn't get collapsed mainly. That's the function of the cartilage rings which are there. So this pipe, which is also known as a windpipe. In the digestive system we have seen a food pipe, right, which was esophagus. And in the respiratory system we have a windpipe, and that windpipe is known as your trachea, right? Now this trachea, as you see, as it comes down it gets divided into 2 parts, right? Why does it get divided now? Because these trachea that is there, this one structure divides into 2 so that each of the 2 structure can enter in both of the lungs, right? So the first division of trachea into 2 parts is something which is known as bronchi. Now listen, don't get confused between bronchi and bronchioles. This is very simple and that is what I am trying to explain you. The single pipe is known as trachea. Once this single pipe divides into 2, that you can see here, the 2 parts, this is known as bronchi. Now each of your bronchi is entering in both of your lungs, right? And these bronchi, once they enter in the lungs, they divide into more parts. You can see, right, I have drawn more parts of subdivision in the both of the lungs mainly. So this further division of the bronchi is something which is known as bronchioles. So I hope I have made you clear. The single pipe is trachea. The first division of trachea into these two parts is bronchi, and these bronchi enter in each of your lungs. Now as they enter in the lung, they divide into more subparts, and the further divisions of your bronchi is known as bronchioles, right? Now what are these? Now these flower kind of structures, right? These budded structures that you can see towards the endings of your bronchioles are the last division, which is known as alveoli. And this part, children, is very, very important when you talk about respiration. Like as in digestion we spoke that the villi are there which play a very important role, and villi in the small intestine which are there, they have contact with the blood. In your respiratory system, what is the name of the part which has connection with the blood? So it is actually your alveoli. Okay, so when we are talking about the exchange of gases, we are going to see that how does this oxygen and how does this CO2 travels through our respiratory system. So we have already understood the diagram. It's not very tough for you to understand. I've just drawn a flow chart, as you can see over here. So whenever we are talking about how is the transportation of oxygen going to take place, so this is how it will happen. How it will happen? Through your nose, you are inhaling, right? I'm just keeping the diagram here also so that you can relate here. So you are going to inhale through your nose, then it is going to go through your nostril, the part here. Then it is going to go into your nasal cavity, right? Then it is going to go into your common passage that I have said, which is pharynx. Then it is going to go into your larynx, followed by the trachea, which is the windpipe here, followed by its first division, which is bronchi, then followed by the further divisions, which is bronchiole, and then the last divisions over here, these bulb-like structures that you can see, which are the alveoli. And we, as just now we discussed, alveoli are in connection with the blood. They are in contact with the blood, which will help in this transportation of the oxygen, and finally this oxygen is going to mix with your blood. Now I hope by now you already know what is the blood actually going to do with your oxygen. So this blood, in a way, this oxygen is going to mix with your blood, and it is going to form a combination which is known as oxyhemoglobin. Now to just make you understand what is this oxyhemoglobin all about. So in your blood, you have got a specialized cell which is known as RBC, right? The red blood cells. And the red blood cells actually have another important pigment into them which is known as the hemoglobin. This hemoglobin is something we say as a respiratory pigment also. So what is this hemoglobin going to do? Let me keep the diagram away. So this oxygen that you have inhaled and the passage through which it has traveled all through the alveoli, and finally now this oxygen is coming in contact with your blood. The hemoglobin is going to combine this oxygen, form a combination which is known as oxyhemoglobin, and then it is going to transport to the different cells of your body. And what are your cells going to do? So we do know by now the cells with this oxygen are going to perform the process of respiration, or I can say the process of assimilation, or I can also say the process of oxidation. Any word I use, it's one and the same at the end of the day. So the cells will utilize this oxygen brought by the hemoglobin of the blood, will perform the process of respiration, and we have already studied when respiration is over, what it is going to produce. So it is going to produce three major components, right? One important component it is going to produce is ATP. Another important component it is going to produce are your water vapors, and another important gas this process is going to produce is your carbon dioxide, right? Now what will happen, just imagine if this carbon dioxide which is produced is not expelled out. It's like in case of mammals, in case of human, we require a continuous supply of energy. So imagine oxidation process or respiration process is happening throughout our body, and if this CO2 will just keep accumulating, it will become toxic. So it's very important that your body removes this CO2, which is the end product of respiration. And then who is going to remove it out? So again your blood is going to come into picture. What is your blood going to do? The blood will now again, the hemoglobin of your blood will now again mix with your CO2, and it is going to form a combination here which is known as carboxyhemoglobin. So I'll just write the name of the combination, which is carboxyhemoglobin. Okay, so this is the combination. You need to be very aware. You can be asked in 1 mark question what is oxyhemoglobin and what is carboxyhemoglobin. or what is the combination you see in both the cases. So when hemoglobins combine with oxygen, this is known as oxyhemoglobin. It will allow the process of respiration to happen, and the CO2 which will be produced through respiration will again be mixed with this same blood, because now this blood has reached to your cells. Now it's waiting there, in a way you can understand. Until your cells are performing respiration, the blood is waiting. As soon as the blood gets CO2, it is going to mix with this CO2, form a combination which is known as carboxyhemoglobin, and this blood is now going to come back. Where it is going to come back? It is going to come back to your respiratory system. So now the carbon dioxide which is there, it will travel in the opposite pathway, because it was in contact with your blood right now. So this carbon dioxide is going to mix with your alveoli, then it is going to your bronchioles. So I will keep on drawing. Then it is going to go to your bronchi, then the trachea, then it is going to go to your larynx, pharynx, nasal cavity, nose, nostril, and through here the CO2 will be out of your body. So just imagine how beautifully your body has been created. Just see how beautifully it is allowing the oxygen to come in and the CO2 to go out. So when oxygen is coming in through the respiratory pathway whole, it is coming in, mixing with the hemoglobin of blood, helping the cells, reaching the cells, allowing the cells to perform respiration. Once it is done, it is again the hemoglobin is mixing with your carbon dioxide, and then in the opposite pathway this CO2 mixed blood is coming back to your respiratory system, and in entirely the opposite way it is going to go out of your body. So this is how your body actually changes, or these are the changes that you see during inhalation and exhalation. Now we will discuss a little more in detail the exact changes. These are just the pathway through which it happened. In our next section now we are going to talk about what are the changes the body faces when we are talking about inhalation and exhalation. Alright, so let us now focus on the changes that we are going to see during inhalation and exhalation. So during inhalation, as you can see, whenever I just want you to do this activity right now, if you can do, just place this hand on your chest and try to take a deep breath in. When you will take the deep breath in, at least not all these changes, but this one change is what you can feel right now. When you will keep your hand on your chest and you will take a deep inhalation, you would see that the ribs which are there in your chest, these are going to come out. You are going to feel a bulging that is coming out. So that is the movement in which the change is occurring during inhalation, where your ribs are going to come out. Now these changes is what you can't see, but this is what is happening in your body. In the diagram we have seen the flap like structure, right, which was the diaphragm. So when we are inhaling or taking in the air, what another changes are going to come? The diaphragm, which was normally dome shape like this, it is going to become flat. Now once this thing is going to become flat, the diaphragm will become flat. As you can see from here, it is going to become flat. What will happen? The chest cavity here, it is going to increase in size. This is very obvious because here is the diaphragm, here it is dome shape, but if it will become flat, the size of this chest cavity is going to increase, right? So the chest cavity will increase in size. Now as this increase in size, another obvious thing we can understand is if some space is increasing, the pressure which was there in this space before, and now since the size has increased, the pressure is going to decrease definitely, right? And because of the decrease in pressure, what is going to happen? The air, it has to balance this decrease in the air pressure, right? That has happened. So to balance the decrease in air pressure, what is your body going to do? Your body is going to rush the air from the outer environment towards the inside of your body. So these are the changes that occur during inhalation. Now let me quickly write down the changes that occur during exhalation, and this will just be the opposite of inhalation. In exhalation, we are going to expel the air out. So in inhalation, we have seen the ribs were coming in. In exhalation, what will happen? The ribs were coming outside, in inhalation. In exhalation, the ribs are going to come towards the inner side. So when you will breathe, when you are breathing in, you would see that the rib cage would come out. You would feel a little, I would say, a change which is allowing your hand to come forward a little. But when you are exhaling, this hand which was there on your rib cage, when you are exhaling out, it is going to come back. So the rib cage are going to come inside of your body. The diaphragm that we have seen, which was actually becoming flat in the case of inhalation, here it will become back to the dome shape, the shape which is here, right? The chest cavity. Now what is the opposite? What do you think? What will happen to the chest cavity? Here, since the diaphragm was becoming flat, chest cavity was increasing in size. But since here the diaphragm is becoming back to its dome shape, what will happen? The chest cavity which was increased, now the diaphragm is back again, so it would decrease in size, right? So the chest cavity would decrease in size. What about the air pressure again? So exactly the opposite. Here it was decreasing. So here, since now the size has decreased, the air pressure is going to increase, and more air pressure, the body again has to balance this pressure which has increased internally. So what it is going to do? Here it is going to expel the air from inside to the outside, and that is what exactly we are doing when we are exhaling out, or here also that we are exhaling out. So this explains us the process or the changes that occur during inhalation and exhalation of the gases. And the last part, that is transportation of the gases, is what I have already talked about here. Oxygen is going to mix with your blood, it is going to perform respiration, and then it is going to make a combination which is carboxyhemoglobin, and then it is going to come out of your body, correct? So this is the entire pathway that you can see, which is the part of your human respiratory system. So in today's video we have covered all the 4 subtopics that we have talked. We have discussed the structure of human respiratory system, we have seen the concept of exchange of gases here, we have talked about the changes that occur during inhalation and exhalation, and we have also talked about the concept of transportation of gases. So I hope you are clear with the video, kids. If you have got doubts, you can ask to me in the comment section box, and if you are liking my video, do share it, do subscribe the channel, and do like the video. Thank you so much. See you in the next section.